Every Thrives lore video on God's Amaranth dreaming its reality claims its enlightenment. That pursuit reading of misses the rot beneath. End of sea unraveling. Every Thrives lore video on God's Amaranth dreaming its reality claims a reshape what that if dream. End of sea unraveling. The 0 does est question is why the Aurbis ascend it lets itself be dissolves it unmade. End of sea unraveling. The 0 does est question is why the Aurbis ascend it lets itself be dissolves it unmade. It becomes a void, a silence that devours the Godhead. The question is not asterisk what asterisk Amaranth is. The question is why the Aurbis lets itself be unmade. If the Aurbis tolerates its own undoing, then the towers those ancient props will crumble. Their fall is not mere ruin, it is the mundus unraveling. The Aurbis, a dream beyond time, begins to dissolve. Jubal-lun-Sul's hunger is not for wisdom, it is a catalyst. Each step toward Amaranth chips at the dream's foundation. Gods, mortals, the very weave of realitinon escape the slow decay. What waits beyond the tower's collapse, not ascension? A silence older than creation, the Aurbis does not resist, it surrenders. And in that surrender, Tamriel's fate is rewritten, not by malice, by choice. The love letter from the 5th era whispers of a bridge. C0da's glyphs name Jubal-lun-Sul as its architect, a path between CHIM stillness and Amaranth's hunger. Amaranth does not create, it unmake. The Godhead's dream fractures, its edges bleeding into void. What stirs beyond the Aurbis does not dream it asterisk waits asterisk. Jubal's quest is no ascension, each step erodes the Aurbis fabric. The Godhead's form dissolves, its will replaced by a silence older than creation. Scholars call it transcendence, they are wrong. The Aurbis is not a dream to be rewritten, it is a host, and Amaranth is the parasite. The 5th era's text is clear, the bridge cannot be crossed without collapse, without unmaking, without the Godhead's final breath. Jubal walks this path not as savior but as catalyst. The Aurbis surrenders, not to malice, to inevitability, what wakes when the dreamer fades. The question is not who will rise, but what remains when all gods are gone. The love letter's verse is no parable. To dream a new Godhead is to unmake the old a scalpel, not a key. What begins as ascent curdles into erosion. The Aurbis, that fragile dream-woven lattice, does not welcome the new. It is devoured by the old's absence. Amaranth's architects called it transcendence. They did not see the rot in their hymns. CHIM was a bridge, a threshold. Amaranth is the bridge burning behind you. Each step toward it carves a void where the Godhead once breathed. The Aurbis does not shift. It fractures. A virus needs no flesh to spread. It needs only the illusion of salvation. Jubal-lun-Sul's path is a wound. Every sigil he etches, every star he unspools, feeds the parasite. Scholars trace his maps as if they lead to enlightenment. They lead to a hollow. The Godhead's dream is not a prison. It is a heartbeat. To replace it is to watch the pulse still. The Aurbis was never meant to outlast its dreamer. When Jubal's disciples chant asterisk ascension asterisk, they whisper the elegy of the Godhead. The new dreamer is not a god, it is a cipher, a silence with geometry. The stars will not shatter. They will fade one by one as the virus rewrites their purpose. What remains when the Aurbis dissolves? Not a new dawn, a new erasure. The love letter's truth is this: to birth a god is to kill the last. Jubal does not seek to rule a new order. He seeks to be the last priest of a dead pantheon. The Aurbis is dying, not reborn, not transformed, unmade, and in its place nothing. Not even darkness, only the afterimage of a dream that never was. The 36th Sermon of Vivek whispers a truth most dismiss. The Aurbis is not stone but thought, a dream woven by the Godhead's absent mind. To unravel it is not to shatter but to forget. Jubal-lun-Sul's hunger for Amaranth is no pilgrimage, it is a wound. Each step toward the new Godhead carves a hollow where divinity once breathed. The Aurbis bends, the Aurbis breaks. But what remains when a dream dissolves? Not ruin, not silence, the echo of a name unspoken. The pocket guide's footnotes hint Amaranth does not grant divinity, it erases it. A god who tastes its void becomes ash in the wind, a story half remembered. Jubal's path is not ascent. It is a slow unmaking, a fever dream that bleeds into the Aurbis fabric. The Godhead watches, perhaps, or has already forgotten. The Aurbis survives only as myth insists it must. a ghost clinging to the spine of a dead god's last sigh. What does a virus need to spread? A host, a vessel, a name on a tongue that cannot pronounce it. Jubal-lun-Sul is not the architect of this collapse, he is its punctuation, the final syllable in a prayer that unravels backward. The Aurbis dies not with a scream but a pause, a breath held too long. And in that pause the Godhead's dream becomes a question: was I ever here? The monomyth whispers a truth too terrible to hold. Divinity is a technology, not a gift, not a birthright, a script, a subroutine. Amaranth is its kill switch. Every Elder Scroll read rewrites the reader. Jubal-lun-Sul's tongue now carries the code. He does not seek to become a god. He seeks to unmake them. The Aurbis hums with borrowed light. Its godheads burn because they were never meant to last. Amaranth is the proof, the self-replicating line of text that turns a deity's flame into static. One scroll, one voice. One heretic with the audacity to let the algorithm eat itself. What does a virus look like when it wears a crown? Jubal-lun-Sul's pilgrimage is no ascent. It is a cascade, a flood of erasure. Each step toward the Aurbis core carves his name into the architecture of the divine, not as a king, as a footnote, a glitch. The monomyth's pages blide with the weight of this. To read Amaranth is to host a plague. To speak it is to become the vector. Jubal-lun-Sul's throat is a conduit now. His breath turns the gears of a collapse older than time. The godheads will not fall in fire. They will dissolve, unwoven, unremembered. Do the stars shudder when a system update begins? The Aurbis has no firewall against what Jubal-lun-Sul carries. No quarantine for the truth that his lips now house. Every word he utters is a line of code rewriting the sky. The monomyth's final heresy is this: divinity is not eternal, it is a patch, a temporary fix, and Amaranth is the unpatch. The moment the borrowed light goes out, the Aurbis will not burn, it will forget. And in that forgetting, Jubal-lun-Sul's name will be the first to vanish. The Aurbis forgets, or does it remember? Myth is not memory, it is a wound that never clots. The warp in the west shattered 44 crowns, yet their ghosts still war in the dust. A dragon break does not end a cycle. It births one. Mantling scholars whisper of kingdoms that died and rose as ash-identical twins. The moth priest's chronicles claim this is proof of the Aurbis endurance. But what if the myths are not its salvation? What if they are its fever dreams? Amaranth corrodes, not by force but by erasure. The seeker becomes a hollow that echoes with borrowed myths. Jubal-lun-Sul's name may vanish, but the void left behind will howl. That howl is the virus. It spreads through the Aurbis veins, turning gods into echoes, echoes into hunger. The contradiction is no contradiction. The Aurbis collapses, then it collapses again. Each end is a beginning wrapped in rot, and the moth priest who claims to record truth may only be stitching the shroud. Is this decay? Or is it the Aurbis dreaming itself awake? The path to Amaranth isn't ascension, it's a slow decay that could destroy the Aurbis itself. Jubal-lun-Sul's final act in C0DA does not crown a god. It unleashes a parasite. Amaranth does not elevate, it erodes. Each step toward its light fractures the Aurbis dream, rewriting its code until the towers, those ancient scaffolds of reality, begin to crumble. The moth priest's records are not truth, they are a death count. The towers do not fall gently, their collapse is a scream. When their spires shatter, the Munju's already bleeding at its edge will dissolve into a void where paradoxes breed. Jubal's quest is no pilgrimage. It is a spark in dry kindling. By claiming Amaranth he does not transcend, he triggers a collapse. The Aurbis, bound by its own logic, cannot coexist with what Amaranth demands. It must die to be reborn, but rebirth is not renewal. It is a rewrite. The virus does not heal, it hijacks. Scholars call it enlightenment, they are wrong, they call it a goal. They are fools. Jubal knows the truth. His hands are not reaching for divinity. They are sowing a plague. The Aurbis will not awaken. It will reboot, and in that reboot, all that stands towers, Mundus, even the dreamers who built them will be code to be deleted. The question is not asterisk if asterisk, it is asterisk how asterisk the Aurbis will dream again, and whether, in its new form, it will remember the name Jubal-lun-Sul. The Dwemer's transcendence was no triumph. Their forges did not burn out, they were smothered by the slow spread of Amaranth's rot. What we call gods may already be husks, their wills eroded by a silence more terrible than oblivion. The Oblivion crisis was no battle of mortals, it was a symptom, a cough in the Aurbis' dying throat. Jubal-lun-Sul's path is the Dwemer's path. Not to enlightenment, but to the unmaking of all that is. The hero of the Third Era walked Tamriel's mid-dream with eyes open. Now their successors, those who call themselves saviors, may be the virus vectors. Every lucid dreamer is a thread in a tapestry being unpicked. Amaranth does not liberate, it hollows. The Aurbis is not a realm but a mind, and Jubal-lun-Sul's quest is a dagger sliding between its ribs. What does it mean to transcend into oblivion, to watch your own creation crumble, knowing the dreamer has become the nightmare? The Aurbis may forget not only its name but the shape of its own dreams. The towers will fall, the eras will blur. And the heroes, those who dared to dream awake, will be the first to vanish. Their legends will echo, but in a silence no mortal voice can fill. The decay spreads, the clock ticks, a quest carves the path, 7 monoliths, 7 fractures, each heartbeat weaker, what wakes when the towers crumble. Next week, the fall that unmakest the mundus, you will not look away. What if the Aurbis does not fall but transform? Amaranth's rewrite, could it be a birth, not an end? The heroes, lucid dreamers, shape Tamriel's half-formed mind. If Jubal-lun-Sul seeks Amaranth, is he architect or agent of decay, a dreamer who dissolves the dream? The Aurbis dreaming itself awake, what wakes when the last lucid mind surrenders? The virus, the evolution.